Hi, and welcome back. Today, I want to talk about self-care. Whenever we hear the word self-care, people automatically start to think of, oh, that's selfish. You're worrying about yourself. You're not worrying about other people. I always think of the analogy of being on an airplane and the oxygen masks come down. And the first thing they tell you is make sure you secure your mask before you help anyone else. And why is that? Well, if you have trouble breathing, then chances are you're not going to be very useful to anyone else, especially if you're traveling with an elderly person or a child. But this isn't about airplanes or oxygen masks. This is about us, you, me. And how do we self-care in our 60s? Hi, my name is Rose, and welcome to Starting After 60. There are a lot of things I learned as I aged. And one of the things that was finally drilled into my head was the need to do things for myself that really were beneficial to my well-being. When I looked up what self-care really means, there were as many definitions and explanations as there are probably people on this planet. It means something different to everyone. But I'm going to talk about what it means to me. Well, for me, it means taking care of my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And what does that look like in my life? I make sure that I stay as physically active as possible. In one of my previous videos, I talked about a knee injury that I had a few years ago. Random, I didn't do anything, there was no trauma, I didn't fall. But what wound up happening was I was walking one day and my leg just completely seized up on me and I couldn't move. I couldn't put any weight on it. It was pretty terrifying. It turned out that I had what they call ligament sprains, and basically they're micro tears in the main ligament that keeps your knee in place. And that was probably from over-exercising, meaning I used to ride my bike a lot, and I didn't do the thing you're supposed to do, which is stretch quite a bit. I never stretched. So it caused some issues. It took weeks and weeks and months and almost a year for my leg to heal completely. But during that time, I remember thinking, this was horrible. I couldn't understand how I got to that point and how being incapacitated, meaning I had to walk with a cane. For the first week, I couldn't walk at all. And it really, really scared me because I thought, oh my God, as I get older, this is going to be a problem if I don't keep my legs strong. And lately, everything I read is about keeping your legs strong, your biggest muscle groups in your body. But let's say you can't go for a bike ride. Let's say you can't go to the gym. Hopefully you can walk. Even walking will keep you moving, keep your body active. So for me, that means a myriad of things. I walk almost everywhere. I do go to the gym, don't love it, but I try and get there at least once a week. Ideally, it would be twice a week. I bike ride when I can. And these are just things to help me stay active. So at 65, it's become more and more important for my body to be strong. So that's one form of self-care. Whatever you can do to move, to be physically active, something is better than nothing. The next part is mental. As I'm getting older, we have our normal forgetfulness. I'll, have my glasses on my head and spend 20 minutes looking for them and then happen to pass a mirror and realize, oh, they're on my head. Or did you ever have the situation where you're looking at your phone as you are on the phone actually speaking to someone and you're basically going crazy, trying like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Can't find my phone. And the person says, well, aren't you talking on it? So there's that. But by mental, for me especially, it's very important that I do things that challenge me. And I'm not talking about Sudoku, I'm not talking about crossword puzzles, although there's nothing wrong with those. But for me, it's learning new things. I started my recent career in my 60th year. I hadn't yet turned 60, but it was the year I was turning 60. And it also happened to be 2020, which was monumental in and of itself. So that's how I brought in my 60s, celebrating 2020. But the year that I turned 60 was the year that I decided to start my recent career. And the first 3 years was really exciting because I got to learn a new industry. I got to learn how things work. Everything that went into, absorbing this new way of life. I made new friends. A lot of them younger than I, and just had the best time and still continue to have the best time. I'm still in that career, and now I work for a different company. and I've met different people. But it's exciting. It's exciting to learn. And I think for me, especially, it's very important that learning new things. So how can that look for you? Well, maybe looking for a new job is not something you're keen on doing. But let's say you want to learn a new skill. Let's say, I don't know, you want to take up wood carving or archery or knitting or whatever. There are thousands of ways you can learn something. And I don't necessarily think learning everything online is great. There's nothing wrong with it if it helps. I mean, I try and knit, not very good at it, but I'll go through periods where I'm trying to figure out how to do a certain stitch. I'll go online and look it up and watch someone who's proficient so that I can say, oh, okay, that's how it's done. I'm very visual. I learn visually. I want to see something happen and then I can replicate it. That's how I learn. People learn in all different ways. People can read something. I have a friend who can read a pattern, X amount of stitches, X amount of rows, and she does great. Drives me crazy. I want to see someone do it, and then I will replicate it. But aside from online, if you can take a class somewhere, physically be in an environment with other people, that makes a huge difference. Absolutely huge difference. And that leads me to number 3, which is emotional well-being. How do I protect my emotional state? Well, if you are part of a large family or large friend group or whatever, there's always going to be a little bit of drama. And though you may love the people that surround you, you don't necessarily always want to be around them. So for me, protecting my emotional state means a lot of solo time. As I've gotten older, I really, really enjoy my solitude. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's a party to be had or a dinner or levity, I'm all for it. I'm there. I'm front and center. I'm a incredibly comedic person. Those who know me love me for a myriad of reasons, and maybe that's one of them. But I happen to be pretty funny. Maybe not here, but I'm pretty funny. So being around people that bring me joy really helps my emotional state because I look forward to those interactions. At the same time, there are people whose time I'm limiting, not for any other reason than I need to protect myself. So if there's a person who what I call an energy vampire, and we all have them in our lives, maybe it's you, maybe it's me sometimes, but being around an energy vampire is being around someone who is so needy emotionally and so needy energetically that it saps you of your strength. Those are the people I try and limit. I give them time, but I may not give them hours or days, and maybe I'll keep our interactions pretty sparingly, once every couple of weeks, once a week, once a month, whatever that looks like. We all have those people that we really want to try and help and we want to be there for them. But when it starts to take away from how we feel about ourselves and leaves us anxious after, maybe it's time to just not necessarily completely cut the cord, or though that might be necessary, but at least limit the time those people have access to you. Because at the end of the day, when you're alone in your home, you're the one that has to live with you. For me personally, when I go to sleep at night, I want to sleep very, very comfortably. I want to close my eyes and I don't want to be, anxious about something that someone else is going through. I'll help them to the best of my ability, but all I can do is be an ear. If someone wants advice, I'm happy to share it. But sometimes people just need to talk, and that's okay. There are times where I need to talk, and that's okay. But I'm talking about the people where it's constant and it's chronic and it's, week after week or day after day or month after month. Those are the people that we might want to gently just take a step back from and not be as available as, we think we should be. It actually does more harm than good. So that's my emotional state. And then the last thing that I do in my self-care package is my spiritual well-being. Now, I was raised in a specific religion. What it is doesn't really matter. But somewhere along the line, I realized that spirituality and religion don't necessarily go hand in hand. I have my beliefs. I have my traditions. Some of them are absolutely beautiful. I wouldn't give them up for anything. But there are things that I don't necessarily question, and this isn't a conversation about whether or not I believe in higher power or whatnot. But for me, Spiritual well-being means that I can sit with myself, that I can appreciate my quiet time. For me, that includes prayer. It includes meditation. It includes a quiet walk along the water, or, anywhere there's a tree-lined street. Just being with myself, not necessarily with earbuds on, listening to music, although that's okay. I do that. Sometimes I listen to spa music as I'm walking. It helps relax me. But my spiritual well-being for me is probably a very big part of my life. I like to know that I am in touch with who I am, and whatever that higher level is, that I can connect to it. And that's how I take care of myself. Now, self-care is going to look very different for different people. And I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe it's taking an hour or two or an afternoon or evening to read a book. Maybe take a nap on a quiet Sunday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Maybe it's going to the salon and getting your hair done. Maybe it's getting a pedicure or a manicure. Maybe it's getting a massage. There are so many different ways. Maybe spiritual fulfillment is going on a retreat, seeing a favorite movie with a favorite person. There are so many ways to take care of yourself. As we become the person that we were always meant to be, it is really, really important, especially as far as I'm concerned, it's very important that I become that person for me, for no one else, but for me. Because if I can stand in my own power, whatever that means to me, then I can show up for other people in my best way. And I would hope they do the same for me. So that's my little talk on self-care. Drop in the comments what you do. I'd love to learn something new. Let me know what it is. What is your favorite thing to do for yourself that really has nothing to do with anybody else? It's just that thing that makes you really feel like, yeah, I'm taking care of myself. Anyway, thank you for joining. Please subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in another video.